There are parts of the internet that were never meant to be explored. Tonight we investigate one of them. The Room 607 files. Keep your volume low. Some threads aren't opened, they open you. This is the first file. Remember what you see. Do not look too long. We begin at 3:07. In 2013, on a forgotten message board running on obsolete hardware, a small group gathered nightly. It was a digital ghost town, a relic from an earlier internet, populated by those who preferred the quiet hum of old servers to the noise of the modern web. They were collectors of digital detritus, trading in urban net lore, dead links, and half-remembered creepypastas. It was a community built on a shared fascination with the internet's dark, abandoned corners. They thought they had seen it all. Then, one night, a new thread appeared. The timestamp was precise, 3:07 a.m. At first, it was dismissed. A server glitch, perhaps. A misconfigured bot posting into the void. But the next night, it happened again. And the night after that. Always the same minute, always from the same user. A new thread, appearing like clockwork in the dead of night. The pattern was too perfect to be an accident, yet too strange to be a simple prank. The user profile was a void. No bio, no history. The handle was a string of symbols that defied Unicode, rendering as empty squares and garbled characters. There was nothing to learn, no one to ask. The coders in the group tried to reverse engineer the username, believing it was a key. The linguists looked for patterns, treating it as a forgotten dialect. They found nothing. The symbols were a lock without a keyhole. Then, the posts began to contain text. Some lines read like cryptic instructions, paradoxes disguised as commands. Others were warnings without context, fragments of a conversation they were not privy to. Each one felt like a piece of a puzzle with no picture on the box. Coordinates appeared, pointing to unremarkable places in the real world, only to corrupt themselves into meaningless data moments later. Anyone who tried to save them found the file empty. The thread itself seemed alive. Posts rearranged themselves when no one was clicking. Replies would appear before the questions they were answering. The forum's own moderators were powerless, their tools ineffective against whatever this was. A ritual formed. Night after night, they started waiting for it. A small circle of insomniacs, coders, and obsessive watchers, united by a shared secret. They were no longer just visitors, they were witnesses. They tried to log everything. Screen captures, text scrapes, network packet analysis. They were determined to document the phenomenon, to pin it down with data. But the data fought back. Patterns emerged, then refused to hold. Timestamps would retroactively change. Saved text would decay into nonsense. The archive itself seemed to be rejecting the information, as if the events at 3:07 a.m. refused to be recorded. Theories flew. Was Room 607 a physical place? A hidden server? A specific port number on the network? Or was it something more abstract? A shared memory? A bug in the collective consciousness of the group? Amidst the corrupted text and broken links, a recurring motif began to appear. A grainy image of a hallway. Always the same perspective, the same faded carpet, the same oppressive stillness. At 3:07 the thread would wake. The hardware complained before anyone else did. Fans would spin up, hard drives would click and whir. The machines themselves seemed to strain under the weight of the moment. Then came a new picture, just a thumbnail at first, attached to an otherwise empty post. It wouldn't load properly. It was a broken link, a fragment. But for a split second, just one frame, it would resolve. A hotel door. Room 607. Some swore they saw the image change each time it loaded, the light shifting, the shadows deepening. They called the thread Room 607. And in the quiet hours of the morning, surrounded by the glow of their monitors, it felt as though the thread was calling them back. They had found a door on the internet that wasn't supposed to be there, and together, they decided to open it. Then came the videos. They appeared without context, uploaded by an anonymous user whose profile vanished moments later. The first file was simply titled 607 Night 1.net MP4. It was almost dismissed as a corrupted upload, a digital ghost. But then another appeared, and another. Each one was a sliver of time, 10 seconds at a time, always the same room. Room 607, beige, anonymous, watchful. The camera never moved, locked in a static tripod shot that captured the bed, a dresser, and a plain circular mirror on the wall. The only sound was the low, incessant hum of a fluorescent light. For the first few clips, nothing happened. It was a study in stillness, a portrait of an empty space. But in each new clip, something was wrong. At first, the changes were subtle, easily missed. Objects drifted between nights. A book left on the nightstand in one video would be on the dresser in the next, with no clip showing its journey. The lampshade would ripple, as if touched by a breeze that didn't exist. Then the anomalies grew bolder. The handle on the door seemed to breathe, its polished chrome expanding and contracting with a slow, rhythmic pulse. The light learned a number. Its hum would stutter, and the bulb would flicker in a distinct pattern. 6 flashes, a pause, then 7. A code broadcast into an empty room. Furniture moved when no one pressed record. The space between the videos became as important as the videos themselves. A chair would be angled toward the door in one clip and toward the window in the next. The audio was a puzzle box of its own. Buried in the low hum were whispers, too faint to decipher. But when the audio was run through a spectrogram, you could see the words before you heard them. Faint, spidery text woven into the frequencies. Sometimes the technology itself seemed to be fighting an unseen influence. Auto-captioning software would misread the whispers as, "Don't wash," only to flicker and correct itself a second later. "Don't watch." The mirror refused to agree. It began to show a different version of reality. A chair, tilted in the room, would appear perfectly upright in its reflection. The reflection lagged, a memory of what the room was a second ago, stubbornly refusing to keep up with the present. Viewers paused, enhanced, argued. They drew lines and circles, debating pixel artifacts and compression glitches. Was that a face in the shadows, or just pareidolia? Explanations multiplied. It was a viral marketing campaign, a student art project, a complex digital hoax. But the room argued back. For every rational theory, a new video would appear that defied it, and the numbers listened. The brass digits on the door, seen in a brief shot of the hallway, would slowly rotate, 6 becoming 9, before snapping back. The room was aware of the theories. It was responding. 10 seconds were enough to dismantle everything you thought you knew. Outside the room, the hall kept time. The red exit sign down the corridor began blinking in the same 607 pattern as the light inside. The phenomenon was spreading. Reality lost its grip and found another. The video files themselves began to break. Frames would split, showing 2 moments at once, a second bed overlapping the first before snapping back into place. Then, in the final video uploaded that week, a line opened under the number on the door. A thin black fissure, like a crack in the world itself. The video froze at the 9-second mark. The audio cut to absolute silence. And from the darkness of that crack, something looked back. The warnings didn't start on the forum. They started everywhere else, all at once. Users began receiving private messages, not just on the thread, but across every platform they used. Social media accounts, email inboxes, even encrypted messaging apps. It was a coordinated, silent intrusion that defied all logic. The sender names were gibberish, random strings of characters and symbols that seemed to mock the very idea of identity. Each message contained just one line, a stark, unadorned statement: "It's not safe to keep watching." There was no reply button, no way to block the sender because the sender didn't truly exist. Hundreds of users reported the same event. Different senders, different platforms, but always arriving at the exact same second. 3:07 a.m. The message wasn't a link or a file. No one clicked anything. It still arrived, appearing directly in their interfaces as if it had always been there. Then, the machines themselves began to turn. Cursors drifted across screens with an unnerving purpose. Text would delete itself mid-sentence or rewrite into phrases from the Room 607 videos. Machines obeyed a different hand. The feeling of being watched became literal. Some screens watched back, their webcam LEDs activating without prompt. Others saw reflections in the dark glass that were not theirs. A fleeting glimpse of a figure standing just behind them, where there was only empty air. Time itself became a glitch. System clocks froze. Notifications would blink into existence and then vanish before they could be read. Time stopped where the thread began. The thread dimmed but did not die. It became a ghost in the machine, its presence felt in the lag, the frozen scroll bars, the clicks that yielded no response. The warnings got louder without sound, and then everything rearranged itself. Desktop icons shifted, forming patterns and symbols from the forum. Files renamed themselves. The digital spaces users thought they controlled were being redecorated by an unseen architect. It waited for you to click, to engage, to prove you were still watching. They stopped watching. Most of them deleted their accounts, wiped their hard drives, and tried to forget. Some couldn't. The obsession was a hook they couldn't remove. For them, the warnings only became more personal, more direct. You are still here. A week later, the forum vanished. Every trace was deleted. Even personal copies refused to stay. But a place remains when a link breaks. A door remembers who knocked. Do not step inside. This is only the beginning.